All right. Hey, everybody. It's Pam Saxman with eXp Realty. I tried to do a screen share recording today of a class I taught, and it just was not working. So we're going to record it this way, and I am posting it in case it is helpful to anyone. So today's topic is really around just some additional selling skills. I think sales gets a bad rap, number one. And I also think that sometimes real estate agents, we don't consider ourselves salespeople or sales advisors. And I think that's unfortunate because I think truly a good salesperson it's an awesome career and it's very much needed. It just gets a bad rap. So anyway, we're going to talk about some of the different ways to do sales in a very meaningful way that helps your clients, not about you. It's about helping identify what your clients' needs are and then finding them. So, right. And then helping maybe through some objections, which is just worries and concerns sometimes. And then also, being someone that asks for business or asks if you can continue for the sale of that property. So, all right. So let me share my screen a little bit because if you've ever done one of my trainings, I'm gonna have a slide deck for that. I just do. So here we go. All right, let's go up here. Sorry, you get to hear me talk through some of my technology woes. All right, so selling skills, and I do kind of consider this a new agent training, but perhaps you've been in real estate for a little while and you feel like you need a little brush up on how to communicate maybe in a little bit more of an effective way. So, consultative sales, guys, this is where I want to say not all salespeople are bad people. Like, I think it gets a bad rap. And maybe we've had that experience, right? Where it's all about that person's needs. They're trying to make money. And so they come at you in a way of just trying to almost word vomit features and benefits and why you should and why you shouldn't without really ever asking you what the heck you're looking for. So, truly, it is a consultative approach. I feel like if it's done really well, too. So, think about it as needs based selling. Again, how do you know what people need unless you build some trust, right? So that your client can be honest and they feel okay in that environment to share that with you. You have to ask really great questions to get there. And I'm not talking about surface level questions. I'm talking about actively really listening to what people are saying and then asking appropriate questions like you're in a real conversation, right? With friends and family. You present the why and then you close. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to buy this house? Do you want to sell this house? It's just kind of basic. But I think sometimes we can also worry so much about the presentation, what we are going to say is kind of our rebuttal. But sometimes we don't spend enough time on asking really great questions. And to me, that's the difference maker. When I've met someone that I felt like was really working for me, not about their interests, but about my interests, they asked really great questions. There is a process in sales. I'm not sure if you realize it. Most of us are just doing it naturally, just conversations, but there is a process. We'll talk about that real briefly. It is about the presentation again, but that's just one small part of this process. It's not all of it. And then it helps you address needs instead of just being just a salesperson. We hear that a lot, right? I'm just a salesperson, just a door opener, right? All right, so if we broke it down into like a real process, so this came from the internet, but when I was in pharmaceutical sales, we very much broke down each one of these individual steps and would spend days sometimes on each individual step on developing that skill as an agent. But sometimes we'll skip through some of these, right? We'll go right to presenting without building any rapport, which is trust, without asking any questions. So sometimes if we slow this down, we see the real positive effect of really talking to people, right? And it also takes salespeople, slows it down and realizes that you can get what you want, which is obviously earning an income and doing well, only if I help someone else really get what they want. I have to figure out what that part is. All right, so step one, building rapport, trust. discovering their needs, asking great questions, offering that solution, which is the presentation part, right? Just the why. Objection handling, right? Usually during the, well, I think you should, or here's this product, or here's this home, there can sometimes be, right, that little apprehension there of, well, I'm not sure. I have this question. I have this concern. You're handling that objection. You're giving them the valid reasons of why they can overcome that objection. Sometimes a conditions you can't just remove, right? But identifying that it's an objection and handling it helps people, helps them process. Okay, so follow up, referrals, asking some other questions, not so much on this part right now, but this is really kind of your close, right? After you handle some objections, you really move into a close setting. All right, again, another way to look at it. Engage, learn, share, and earn. So if you want to think of else, that's one way to do it too. All right, real brief about building rapport. I do this in one of our other new agent training classes too, so I don't want to spend a ton of time here. But I also want to say how important it is. People want to work with folks that they feel like they trust, they feel like that are similar to them, someone that they can relate to, right? So whether you know it or not, if you're a good conversationalist, if you're a good friend, you're doing some of this building rapport. A lot of us as real estate agents meet people cold. They don't know me, I don't know them. They may not have even been referrals, so there's no real connection there. So I have to immediately make them feel comfortable, that they can trust me, I have their best interests at heart, and that I'm capable and confident in what I'm doing and my skills. So power of a smile. Guys, whether you're on the phone or in person with someone, the power of a smile is amazing. It's probably the most important thing you can do. I look approachable, right? I look nice, friendly. Now, when it's time to get serious, and it may not be all smiley, but my initial reaction with someone is always friendliness and warmth. And that is part of my personality. I do care about people. I want to project that too. Remembering names, do better than me. This is one thing I'm terrible at. So if you can remember someone's name in a genuine way, or kids' names, or the dog's names, their husband, and if you have the opportunity to bring that back up in conversation, it's a way to demonstrate I listened to you. I heard what you had to say. I remembered it because it seemed like it was meaningful to you. It's a great way to build a relationship. Handshake, COVID times. We're not doing many handshakes right now, unless it's the, fist bumps, but it may come back. Because believe it or not, I feel like a handshake has been very important in business over the years. There's a reason why deals are done at the end of it. There was a good, firm handshake there. So if we get back to it, don't forget about this part if you're given the opportunity. You tell a lot in your body language and how you handshake someone. If it's a little too loosey-goosey, I'm not sure if that's the person I'm going to have confidence in representing me in a major financial decision, or if they're going to be my best negotiator. At the same time, I don't want necessarily someone to alpha me and they're almost literally breaking my hand too, right? It needs to be firm, confident. I've got this. I'm a good agent. I work for you. I'm going to negotiate for you. So it needs to project that, but again, not too much, not too strong. There's also the cupping of the hands too, which I've talked about before too. Not all real estate is about fun times. Sometimes people lose a spouse. Sometimes they're going through some financial hardship, and it's not, an easy, fun sale. It's just not. Sometimes you need to show a little bit of extra warmth and that I have you. I'll take care of you. Cupping someone's hand at the end of it is a nice additional extra show of warmth there too. Good eye contact. Nothing says shady like you're not looking me in the eye. What are you thinking about? What kind of lie are you trying to create when you're not looking me in the eye? So that's important. You look shady if you don't. And it may be just that you're nervous, right? So harness it. Don't get creepy with it, but look somebody in the eye. Matching speed and volume. Tina Call does this probably better than anybody I've ever met. But having the just self-awareness and quick adjustments, that if someone's a fast talker, they talk louder, then adjusting yourself a little bit. Again, people like to work with folks that they feel like that are similar to them. I'm not saying be a crazy person and just automatically dramatically shift your personality. I'm not telling you to do that. But if you can just adjust yourself ever so slightly, it is amazing that how much you can connect with people there too. So that's great. Speed and volume, fastest things you can do. Finding common ground. Laura Payne is really good at this. If you've ever met her, if she notices an area code, she's like, "Where's that from?" And then usually she knows somebody, or she's lived there, she's gone to school there, or something. There's the connection. She asks a lot of questions, looking for that common ground, that commonality, puts people immediately at ease. Oh, Laura went to somebody's house in Phoenix. We must know some of the same people. We're cut of the same cloth. Immediately, people just breathe a little easier, right? And it just feels good when you feel like you kind of know somebody, right? Feels good for you as an agent too. Give sincere compliments. If given the opportunity to compliment someone, consider it. Has been helpful to me over the years. It has to be genuine though, y'all. It can't be just some made up thing. People will see right through that. But if it is somebody took a chance on some lip color, you're like, you know what? I love how bold you are with that. I think that looks awesome. Good for you. Tells me a lot about your personality, and I respect it. Whatever it is, people love to hear compliments. They just do. Act relaxed. If you're a new agent, you can get really, really nervous out there. Take a deep breath. It's fine. You're just having a conversation with someone to see if you can help them, right? That's the gist of it. Think about it in that way. All right, get down to business. There comes a time when you have to transition from all the rapport building to, all right, you ready to get started? Whatever that transition piece is. So they know that we're ready, right? Now we're serious. Now we're professional. Now we're focused. We're going to talk about the business. So keep that in mind too. We're going to talk too much about that. All right, learn. This is where you ask really great questions. How in the world am I going to find the best home or help a seller sell his house in the best manner if I don't ask enough questions? And as you guys have heard me say before, this is not well, how many square feet, how many bedrooms, how much land do you want? I'm not talking about those kinds of questions. What are your goals with this? What's been your past experience with selling homes? Tell me a little bit more about that. What are some of the things that you've liked in maybe your previous agents? And maybe what were some things that could have been a little bit better so I can avoid it? What kind of communication style do you like the most? How do you like to communicate? All of these things, right? Helps you learn about someone's personality, what they're looking for, all these things. It helps make your job a lot easier if you slow down and ask some really great questions. So again, you choose questions to deepen your understanding of the customer and how they make their decisions. It can also help lead to more meaningful dialogue, right? Build rapport, you ask great questions, and then they start telling you a little bit more. Well, I've got my mom, she's not in great health. And so you start thinking, all right, I'm not going to need to maybe consider an in-law suite, or maybe we need another separate apartment. What about handicap access? Right? All these things. Uncover and understand the customer's beliefs and underlying needs. Sounds deep, right? Just ask more questions. Ask the next one, right? And one thing that I've always loved is tell me more about that. Maybe when I'm not sure exactly the question that I really want to ask, but tell me more about that. It buys you a little bit of time, but it also is amazing how powerful that is. It gives someone else permission to tell you more and deeper, right? And that's sometimes what you need. Confirm alignment between beliefs and behaviors. Helps you engender thinking, gets them that memory jog, right? The more they talk, the more you learn. If they're talking more than you are, it's actually pretty good. You're learning so much. And they come out of that going, gosh, that was such a great conversation. People like to hear themselves talk. But you learn so much through that too. Trying to create some two-way dialogue. Remember those personality types. Sometimes this will take a minute to get someone warm enough to really share. This is also why sometimes people will end up showing way too many homes because perhaps they didn't ask enough questions to really find out the deep stuff, right? What people are looking for. All right, we're going to whip through some things around questions, but I just want you to think these things through a little bit more and maybe a time and a place for some of these questions too. These are like your step 2 questions in a lot of ways, right? If you're getting a rut, you feel like, well, I didn't know what to ask. Let's talk about that. So time and a place for open and closed, right? Closed is yes or no. I'll get a very specific answer. And you don't get people really diving in deep and giving you a lot of information. And maybe if you feel like you're pulling teeth, reflect back on your questions. Maybe you're just asking them a ton of yes or no rapid fire questions and it feels like the Grand Inquisition. Maybe readjust. How, what, where, when. Those are open, closed starters, right? So think about that. Purchase specific questions. Those are the basic ones, right? Rapport building, pain questions. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I love pain questions in the appropriate setting. Clarifying questions and objection seeking questions. All right, I'm not going to read all this to you. But again, the type of question of buying history. It's been a previous experience, good or bad, in buying a home. God bless, if they had a terrible experience last time, kind of want to know that, right? Because I want to be better. I want to fill that void, that gap, whatever that issue was. I want to make sure that I close that. And this experience is remarkably different. I want them to feel heard. When did you last buy? Tell me more about that. What process have you gone through in the past to buy a home? Or if you've already been looking, tell me how you've been looking at homes. Have they been going to open houses? Just let them tell you that, right? Have you already tried selling your home on your own? Is that something that you would consider? Of course, that's yes or no. How did that last purchase go? Oh, this is really good. The things that happened that were great, I want to replicate. The things that were not so good, I want to learn from, and I want to provide a better experience for them. This is setting expectations and both of us getting on the same page, truly. Purchase specific questions. These are really kind of basic. What prompted you to meet with me today? What qualities are you looking for in a home and an agent? What quality is most important to you? What is your timeline for buying a home? What is your budget? Who else is involved? How many bedrooms, square footage, et cetera, et cetera. Very specific questions. Yeah, it can help you identify hot button needs and design your pitch around them too, right? You're listening the whole time. Rapport building. This may be a little bit earlier in the game, but you have to ask a lot of questions. You can't just go, so, well, hopefully you sit down. Let me tell you a little bit about me. How long have you lived in Raleigh? How long have you been in your current home? Tell me a little bit about what you love about the neighborhood, about the area. What do you like to do for fun? Just tell me a little bit about you and your family. Tell me about your family. Yeah. What would buying a home do for you and your family? Right? It's more about relations, right? About how people feel and those connections there too. It's a place for that too. Clarifying. All right. Clarifying is also part of objection handling. So if someone gives you an objection and they say there's an issue, there's a problem, right? You may need to clarify. Just generally speaking, you may need to ask clarifying questions. But clarifying can also be really, really useful during objection handling. Can you give me an example? Can you be more specific? How did that affect you? Like, let me learn more about that. Maybe I don't understand what you're saying, or it sounds to me like that this has been your experience. Am I right? Did I get that right? Objection seeking questions. What are your thoughts so far? Kind of like this one's a little bit of a trial close. You're in a listing presentation, right? So what do you think? We're on the same page so far? We've got price established. We've talked about commission. We've talked about marketing plan. What do you think? Ready to move forward? A little presumptive, but there you go. Do you have any concerns? What are they? What other subjects should we discuss? Is there any reason why we shouldn't move forward? If we found the perfect house today, would you be willing to write an offer? It's determining motivation too, right? All right, other tips, and just think about all the questions. That's all I want to do today is for you to think about how important it is to truly engage people. I fully think that you can ask anybody anything if you ask it in the right way. Pain questions, which I had up before. That is sometimes when you want to go, oh my God, I feel like I just really need to have a real conversation with people. Sometimes you can. Again, it's how you say it and it's appropriate. So I'm picking up on some facial expressions and maybe just some body language on how you feel about this, about selling your home. So, let's talk about that a little bit further. Why is there some fear? Why is there some opposition? Sometimes you need to have honest conversations with someone, and that is okay. And it's how you say it and the questions in which you ask. All right. Some other tips around questioning of people. Don't get on the multiple choice ending. I see people do that sometimes. Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? You're bailing people out. It may not be any of the answers that you provide. But if you give them multiple choice, it may be just one they choose. Just it's easier that way, right? It's one you've offered. So if you have a question, just ask it and be quiet. Let them answer it too, right? These are important when you're having some challenging conversations. Smoke screens. Sometimes when people give you an objection, it's a smoke screen. It's maybe not really the heat of it, the heart of it, the problem. So you may need to probe there too. Oh well, we're really busy right now. When we see a house, we'll just call Zillow. We're not really looking to work with an agent right now. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. What's been your experience? You're probably going to have to ask more questions as to why that is so that you can help overcome that. All right. Listening. Questions mean nothing if you don't listen. And I sometimes watch people do this. They will ask a question with their preconceived notion of what that person is going to say, and they've already formulated their response. And sometimes if you're observing that, you realize that they weren't listening. They didn't clarify. They're answering a totally different question because they heard something else because they weren't really listening. Don't be that person. Clients should be talking truly at certain points more than you, I think. Don't tell them. Listen to them and respond. Clarify if you don't understand. Hey, what I think you said is this. Is that right? Sometimes you're thinking something totally different. You're thinking you've got a commission objection. You really don't. It's back down to price or whatever. Clarify. Knowledge is power, but only if you know what to do with it. Right. So then you need to work on your presentation skills. Learning is where you determine your leverage. Without it, you're just throwing stuff on a wall and hoping something sticks. This is the great things about questions, right? If I know the positives, what went well, what is going well, what they're looking for, maybe where some problems, some challenges, some issues. Now I know where maybe my objections are going to be and the gaps that I have to fill in. If I can do that, great experience, doing all the good stuff good, working on some of the bad stuff or the objections or the fears and the worries. If I know what all that stuff is because I've asked really great questions, then I know the information they need to have. I can help fill that need for them a little bit more. If not, I could be just, well, my marketing plan does this, and then I do this from a selling standpoint, my signs, and I go on Zillow. Maybe they don't really care about the marketing plan, maybe something else. So don't just throw stuff on a wall, right? Ask really great questions. Value of listening while questioning. Don't have selective listening. Only listen to the parts that are interest of you or what you think you hear. Evaluative listening, don't do that. The listener forms a premature opinion and inaccurately interprets the message being communicated. Yes, you want to do some active listening. You nod your head. You maybe shake your head if you're unsure. Don't make any judgments. Just listen purely for meaning and then clarify for understanding if you think you might be misinterpreting what they have to say. All right. We've built rapport. We've asked questions to really determine what their needs and experiences are. The next logical part is really sharing. And this is where you're presenting, right? Why I'm the best agent, why you want to work with me, why, right? This is kind of how I can sell my services. Use some of the information that you found, right, during the questioning phase to craft your message to meet the needs they have shared. Again, if they've had a good experience, I'm going to be just as good as and better, and this is how. And then the poor experiences is how I'm going to correct that. Moving forward, this is what I'm going to provide. I'm going to share. I hear you. I hear what you said. Maybe communication is really important to you. You want updates every 3 days. Okay, I hear that. I'm going to make a note of that. That's something that we're going to do because that sounds like that's important to you. Suddenly not guessing anymore, right? You're matching their needs. You're providing the service to match that need. It gives you passion and confidence. Again, it's not about you. You suddenly feel more confident because you're helping provide a service for someone. You're just helping them. It's okay for me to get what I want as long as I'm providing the service that they need. Now, it needs to be genuine and real. If you say you're going to do something, do it. But every client's needs may be remarkably different. It's not a one size fit all. Check in, trial close to confirm that the client is tracking with you. I'm huge on these. Sometimes folks worry about closing. If you're checking in with them all along that we're tracking together, okay, we've established the price. You feel good about that? Maybe worked over a little bit. I feel good about it. All right, so now let's talk about the marketing plan. Are you good? Are we in agreement? This is what we're going to do? Perfect. We're checking in all along. So if you get to the end where you're asking for the business, should not be a surprise. We've done all that work. We've checked in. It gives people the opportunity to give you an objection though. And that's okay. I'd much rather have some small objections as we go along instead of them not telling me why to give me the business because I never asked. Or there's a really big objection at the end and then we have to start all over again, right? So check in as you go along. People like that. Avoid talking at someone. I cannot stand for someone to talk at me for long periods of time, which is what I'm doing to you guys today. It feels like you don't care what I have to say. You don't care about my opinion. It is then all about you. Some people it doesn't matter to, right? But if you can keep someone engaged, asking them questions, again, asking for confirmation, they're tracking with you and you guys are conversing. It's some back and forth there, right? So keep that in mind. All right, when people throw you objections, right? What's your commission? I'm not going to pay 6%. You have to flip your mindset around it, I think, sometimes too. Objections are opportunities to work through the roadblock. I would much rather tell me why or what the problem is or the concern, so I have the opportunity to handle that objection instead of just thanking me for my time. We all smile and I find out that I didn't get the business down the road. That's kind of on me. I didn't ask, right? So I'd much rather know. So think about it as an opportunity, not as a, if they didn't want you to tell them the reason why they're wrong, they probably wouldn't tell you, right? So think about it as an opportunity. I love that. Objections may be real or perceived. Know that perception is reality. So you may have to clarify that objection a little bit. Is this a real concern? Or is this just something that if we work through some data and stats, it shouldn't really be an objection. But again, perception is reality. If you don't talk it through, it becomes a real objection for them. Objections may be smoke screens. Again, sometimes people they want to reconfirm. They want to talk it through. And it may be just the start, and then you really get to digging and there's something more to it. That's really a smoke screen. So what I like to do, if someone gives me an objection, you confirm, you clarify, make sure you're handling the right objection. Then you try to respond to that objection with the reasons why, and then confirm at the end of it. Did I handle that? I mean, do you feel better about that? Did that handle that objection for you? I'll even say that sometimes. And they may say, yeah, I'm better there. That's good. Thanks. Or they may go, well, yeah, but, and then they give you more. Now, that's beyond the smoke screen. We're probably getting deeper now, getting into some roots. Objections may be isolated issues, and those are just small things that just with a little bit more information, they're quickly overcome. Yeah. Sometimes people think using a listing agent is going to cost them 10%, and we're going to charge them for the photography. We're going to charge them for all these extras. And then you ask, oh, no. My rate is this in this scenario. I feel like that's the right commission to offer to the buyer's agent, myself, and it's going to include all of this. You just need the opportunity to clarify. And objections can uncover some conditions. Conditions are things that are almost impossible to remove. Maybe they're going to have to bring money to the table for closing, and they don't have that money. All right, we need to talk about that. We need to figure out if there is a solution, or it truly may be a condition, and I may have to refer you to an attorney or someone else that's better suited to help, right? So conditions, just be careful. You're not trying to fix conditions that are out of your control. Mention process, right? On objection handling. Clarify. Make sure you're handling the right objection. Make sure you understand what's going on. Sometimes it's funny. Like if you listen to people talk and there'll be an objection and someone handles something that's totally different, and you're like, did they really listening? They weren't. They weren't listening enough. There was something wrong with the uptake. But if they had clarified it, they probably would have figured it out earlier. Acknowledge sometimes. Sometimes people literally just need to know that they've been heard. That's where objections can get out of control and can elevate. So when people don't say, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I can see why you think that way. I may not agree with you, but I hear you. And then, maybe clarify and respond and ask some more questions as appropriate. But sometimes when things get a little tense, people just keep saying the same thing because they don't feel like they're heard. So just, keep that in mind. Respond. It's your opportunity to handle that objection. What values and services that you have that are the reason why you're charging that commission, right? This is the reason why. Totally understand, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I understand that would be a concern, but I'm glad we had the opportunity to kind of chat it through. So my listing percentage is 6%. And this is the reason why. I want to be upfront. I want us to be on the same page and for you to understand essentially what you're paying for, whatever. And you go into whatever is unique, what your value proposition is. And again, confirm. Before you just move on, you go, I slayed that. I handled that objection. Are we good? Did that make sense to you? Do you see now my point of view on charging that? And they may go, no, I don't. All right. Well, then you have to kind of clarify, relap around. Or they may go, no, thank you for sharing that. That makes total sense. I got you. We can move on now. Perfect. Let's do that. Don't just move on though. Gosh, see so many people, they don't handle the objection. They just were like, done. And you're like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if that was enough. All right. And the final in all of this whole sales process is the close. I always hear always be closing for something, right? That is definitely a salesperson's thing, but it is important. I've seen so many people do all the stuff. They've built rapport, asked really great questions. Their presentation was solid. And then they just didn't close. They didn't ask for the business. They either assumed it or were hopeful. They didn't have confidence enough to say, I'm ready to move forward. I brought the listing agreement with me. It's right here. I've got it filled out. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Let's go over it real quick. And then if you guys are ready to sign, then I'm ready to get started. How does that sound? That's a close. That's an assumptive close. That's a close. So if you've done all the work, right, don't miss on the close part. Don't be afraid of it. Almost embrace it. And it's weird if you don't ask sometimes. They're like, well, is she going to have? I mean, does she want the business? I mean, I think she does. You're supposed to be a trained negotiator, right? So don't be afraid on the close. To me, it's awesome because if they say, no, I'm not ready, or yeah, I'm just not really sure. Man, I'd like to know that, because if I still have some work to do, maybe we've got to go back and look at something. I'd like to know that and give the opportunity, because the moment I walk out the door, then the neighbor's getting ahead, and there's this other agent that somebody else knows, and it becomes the chances of me actually getting the business are far less after I leave. So I'd rather have the opportunity now. And if there truly is a concern, I want to know it, right? And then I also think you're probably much more likely to get more business than you would ever think you would. Don't be afraid of it. Again, it's just another opportunity for a yes, or if it's a no, it may just be a not yes today, but maybe tomorrow. Be specific, be reasonable, and make it a habit of asking for next steps. So I wanted to talk a little bit like closing too. Like if you're on a cold call, if you're calling a for sale by owner and they're like, thanks so much for calling, but we're going to try this for a little bit, and we're not ready for you to come out. And I know you try to close them a couple times and they keep saying no, 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 no. Well, don't just hang up. Think about, if I can't get the appointment, if I can't get the business today, what's the next best thing? Is I want to close for the follow-up. And I think this is sometimes where we fail. Hands up, I fail here too. All right, seems like you guys aren't quite ready for me to come out today. Totally respect it, totally understand it, although I'm going to keep trying. Is it okay if I call you back next week? Just want to check and see, how the marketing is working, how many calls you've had, if you get any offers, those types of things. Is it okay if I call you maybe same time, same day next week? Does that work for you? You'd be surprised. A lot of people are like, sure, that's fine. Or whatever that timeline is, that's appropriate. But here's the thing. Now, since I've asked, they almost feel more obligated to answer the phone. They're like, well, she says you're going to call back. Right? So I love an assumptive close. And then I can put that in my CRM to follow up with that person at that specific time too. So it helps me be better with my follow-ups too. So always be closing for something. That does mean something. A, B, C. Close for the appointment, close for the listing, close for the buyer agency, close for follow-up. But always think about, what are my next steps? How are we going to see each other again? What do we need to do again? And let's go ahead and start planning for that, because it gets weird when you don't close and then people don't know what the next step is with you. They become unsure. All right, guys, I hope that makes sense. Just think about sales as a little bit of a slow down process. All of these things are necessary. Build some rapport so people trust you. Ask some really great questions. What the heck people are looking for beyond a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Figure out what their past experience was. How can you be as good as that last experience and fill the gaps in, all those holes that were not really good? That's where you shine. That is how you they sell. Present, always give them the why they should work with you, why you shine. I'll be better at that if I ask really great questions again, though. Handle those objections. Any reasons why they don't want to work with you or they don't want to move forward, find them out. Is there a way that you can help that situation or fill that gap? Find out. And then close. If you've done all that work, you've handled that objection, close. Close for the business, close for the follow-up. I hope that's helpful for you guys. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.